I want to talk about one of the worst things that I ever did as far as business. No, it's not opening my restaurant, but it is opening a restaurant. Um, so about 2.5 years ago, a good friend of mine, my best friend at the time of a decade, approached me to open a restaurant. And we had talked about it, and seemed like to me like a good idea. However, this restaurant was located directly across the street from my current restaurant. And you know, that saying, don't go in business with friends, is oh so true. All the things you're promised, all the things that you go into, none of that becomes relevant once you start putting money in the equation. All of that just goes right down the drain. And no matter how hard you try and how hard you say and things like that, it just does not seem to work that way. Now, of course, there are a lot of businesses out there that friends did start that are doing perfectly fine. They're doing perfectly fine. Their relationship hasn't suffered. Striving business. But if the business isn't striving, that's really an additional strain. And first of all, no business really strives their first year, first year and a half, their first 5 years. It's tough when you open a business, especially a restaurant. Don't think you're going to open and make money day one. I know very, 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 very little restaurants that have done that. A friend of mine in Colorado in a Thai restaurant, he was able to do that. He opened up, and month one, he started generating positive cash flow. And he had that business for, 15, 20 years. He's had several different locations. He even bought real estate, bought the real estate he was in. But that's a very rare exception to open month one and start generating revenue. So, the worst thing I did was indeed open up a restaurant with a friend in my hometown where my restaurant is. The problem with that is, if it was anywhere else and I walked away from it, it would have been much easier to stomach. But here's the thing. I have to look at the restaurant every single day. The name of the restaurant is my father's name, which makes it even harder for me to swallow. But here's the kicker, folks. Here is the kicker. I spent 7, 8 months, 9 months cross-promoting the restaurants, telling people that it was my restaurant, co-branding, co-marketing, training people to think, hey, come to either one of my restaurants. Well, guess what? 2.5 years later, people come to me, and of course, they're not wrong. They come in and say, hey, Marcus, I go to your other restaurant. Hey, I tried your other restaurant 2 weeks ago. Hey, I've been going to your other restaurant. I look at them and say, it's not my restaurant. They're like, I had no idea. What do you mean? I said, I'm not there anymore. They go, I had no idea. And of course, it even hurts when they say, well, yeah, they got the same craft beer as you. They do organic food and farm to table, which I don't. Yeah, they have good craft beer. I don't think they're doing farm to table. I don't really know. All I can see is on the same delivery truck that we get, and sometimes it's quite different. However, I trained people that 2.5 years ago to say, come to my other restaurant. Once you train somebody, we all know that things are hard to relearn. Things are especially for people. Things are hard to relearn. That's what I mean to say, to relearn the thought process. So every week, I think this has happened to me where people actually say something to me. 2.5 years later, it doesn't happen every week now, but for a year and a half, every single week, people will come into Aroma Time and say, hey, I go to your other restaurant across the street. I go to your other restaurant. I even had this summer one time. I'm walking outside for something, and a guest walks up to the door and she says, Marcus, we're 7 people tonight. I had zero room. I had no room. We were turning people away. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's going to be like a 45-minute wait. She goes, no problem. I'll just go to your other restaurant like I've been doing. I said, I don't have another restaurant. She goes, that's not yours. I said, no. She goes, oh my gosh, I wouldn't be going there if I didn't know that, Marcus. I support you because of what you do. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get you into the restaurant tonight. Don't you worry. I'm going to get you in right now. And I sat them outside. I split the tables up. They started out with 2 separate tables, and they were able to merge their tables after about a half an hour, 45 minutes. And they were very happy. And she goes, I just assumed that I could go get that whole grain, the organic, the farm to table approach that you've been doing. And I go there, and I'm just assuming that I'm getting that. And I said, you kind of have to ask, because I'm not really sure what the story is. 2 times on the trails. I was out in Minnewaska and Sam's Point. This was just weeks ago, folks. And I'm out there hiking, I'm out there running, and I get stopped by 2 people. One person I know, this is another business owner in New Paltz, and another was people that I don't know. But they stopped me. They go, I recognize you. You're that guy from that Italian restaurant across the street. And I said, across the street? She goes, yeah, across the street from Aroma Time. I said, no, Aroma Time's my only restaurant. She goes, I thought you were there. And I said, long story, I used to be there. I'm not there anymore. It was a quick, brief thing in the beginning. And the other guy, who's a business owner who I'm friends with on Facebook, who I buy from his business, he still assumed that I was over there 2.5 years later. So the psychology or the mindset of people is just, you have to be, as a business owner, you have to be very careful what you portray in the beginning. When I opened 15 years ago, I didn't have a liquor license for 2 months. It happens maybe twice a year now where I get a phone call saying, hey, did you ever get your liquor license? Is it still BYOB? And we're talking 15 years later. I'm like, well, yeah, we have a great wine list. And, last time I was there, I brought my own because you didn't have anything. Folks, we're talking 15 years later. So when you open your restaurant, when you open your business, that first impression you give to somebody when they're first getting introduced to your business is so vital and so crucial, and it may be almost impossible to turn that around. It takes a lot of effort. So I'm out there, telling everybody who I can, who asks me, that's not my restaurant anymore. However, I've never really made a video. I've never really posted, and maybe that's part of the problem. In the very beginning, for the first 3 months, it was on every email we did. It was on every communication we did. We're no longer associated. And sometimes people will say, yeah, Marcus, I could tell you're not there anymore. It's not the same energy, this or that. But we're talking 2.5 years later, folks, and I'm still losing business to something that didn't work out for me. I'm still losing business. That's the part that hurts the most is yeah, I went in there, I got duped, it didn't work out, I was misled, I was deceived, whatever I can say. That's the easy part. But when a guest walks up to me constantly saying, man, I'm giving money that I should be giving to you to somebody else because I'm thinking it's you, that's the part that hurts the most. That's the part that I regret. That's the part. If it was somewhere else, if it was another city, if it was somewhere else where I didn't have to see it and hear it, I wouldn't worry about it. But when people say that to me, I turn around, I'm like, oh, here we go again. How much money am I losing? How much money I basically built my competition, sent all my staff over, did all the training, gave all my relationships, all my network systems, handed over everything. And now I'm handing over revenue. I'm still handing over revenue 2.5 years later. Folks, that is the worst thing that I've done in business. In all the years I've been in business and all the years I've been a chef, that right there is the single-handedly worst thing I've ever done, was open a restaurant with my best friend in the same town as me, to where I keep losing money every week. I keep losing money to it. I kind of joke with people sometimes and say, man, it would have been easier for me to write a check for $100,000 and say, here you go, here's $100,000, I don't want this back, and here is half my staff. I've trained them. Here's my Rolodex, even though Rolodex doesn't exist anymore, but here's my Rolodex of all my contacts. Let me walk them into your door, personally introduce them, and tell them to do business with you, and for them to take care of you. I would have been better off doing that, not to have to hear every week, I go to your other restaurant, Marcus. I support your other restaurant. So, worst thing I ever did. 2018 is going to be a great year. What are your goals and aspirations in business for 2018? I've got a lot, and I'm going to be sharing them. One of my goals that I'm going to share and do a whole video on is I want to make a lot of YouTube videos this year. I want to make a ton of YouTube videos. The most I've ever made in 1 year was like 350, 330 or something, almost one a day. And I think I want to get out of my comfort zone. Last year I didn't make that as many. Maybe I made 150. I want to get out of my comfort zone and maybe make, I was thinking 400 videos. And I was thinking 500 videos. And I'm thinking, gee, how hard would it be to do 2 videos a day on YouTube? If I'm already doing one, the second one, the infrastructure's already set up. It's just a matter of recording a little more content, breaking out a video, doing another subject. So that's one of my goals. I'm going to tidy that goal up. I'm really liking the 500-600 or the 2 a day. I'm really liking that on YouTube. I want to blow YouTube up in 2018. I want to brand myself. I want to brand the restaurant more. I want to get more exposure. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and definitely pass it on. I'm going to pull over here and stop the camera.